This is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin from Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Barb Gulin provides her clients and prospects the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful strategies to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now here is Anchor Your Retirement with Barb Gulin.
Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gulin, and hanging out with me on this fine, almost spring day is Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I'm here. I'm great. Yeah, I'm doing good. I've had a good week. It's been crazy busy, though. I have been busier than I ever have been. And I've done the same. I've had my same gig, been doing this for about this particular one, doing shows with you and producing talk shows and things for about 10 years. I've been in radio 35 years, but I've done this 10 years and I've never been this busy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I'm not complaining. Trust me. I can't complain, but sometimes I still do.
Well, now, are you guys still having the unseasonably warm weather?
Yep.
So
it was 69 here a couple of days ago.
Yep. Our pals in Colorado are not faring quite so well under 3 feet of snow.
No, I actually helped produce a show for someone in Colorado, and I did a show with them this morning, and they said they had about 2 feet and they were of snow. And I'm like, we here in Minnesota, where we normally get,
feet.
Our snow totals over the winter total at least 6 feet, right? Usually, or 4 feet, 6 feet. We've had 8 inches where I'm at total.
Oh my God.
And that's a record. That's a record. There's no snow here, and there hasn't been any snow on the ground for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, everything down here is blooming. I showed you pictures before we went live. I've been putting
your garden
beds this week.
Yeah.
So all kinds of fun stuff going on with that. And it's been spring break week here. So, it's funny. I have a friend who goes out of town with her kids and family every year.
Yeah.
And she's like, for the first time, it's going to be warmer in Kansas City than where we're going, at least for the first couple days. So.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, I did a show with a guy in Florida this morning, and I think it was warmer on, what day was it, Monday? It was warmer in Minnesota on Monday than it was where he lives in Florida.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts. I mean, that's crazy. The weather's been nuts.
Mother Nature needs to get her meds checked. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. The farmers here aren't liking the fact that there hasn't been any snow, because usually you get all that snow melt that starts in the spring, and it's
going to be dry for them.
It is very dry right now. So, but Barb, you've got a great topic for us. I know once in a while you like to help out we have a lot of federal employees who listen to the show and view the show. And that you work with, and sometimes things crop up. But our other listeners who aren't federal employees will find things in here that can help them as well. But what are we talking about today?
We're talking about some general estate planning tips for federal employees. And like you said, a lot of these do have overlap into the private sector, especially our first topic of the day, which is beneficiary designations.
Yes, beneficiary designations. And you've mentioned how important these are in past shows. And I just don't think a lot of people understand. They think, well, if I have an account, they ask for who I want it to go to. If I pass, I put that down, I'm done. No big deal, right? I think that's the way people view that.
And this is something that really you need to review every year. If you go through, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's something that, if you name your spouse as a beneficiary, if you get divorced from that spouse and something happens to you, in some cases, you might still want that money to go to your spouse if they're raising the kids and that kind of thing. But more often than not, you no longer want that spouse to be the benefactor of your life insurance or your thrift savings plan or your 401k or your 403b, for those of you that are not in the government sector. However, the Supreme Court has ruled that whatever is on that beneficiary designation is what the company has to abide by. They're not going to care about a divorce decree.
The courts and the government and the companies where you have those funds, the beneficiary designation takes precedent over anything else, right? Over a will, over anything.
It does. And you're just going to be wasting money if you think that you can challenge it in court. Thrift Savings Plan has made it really easy to change the beneficiaries. You can log into your account and do it that way. Now, I will warn you that in certain community property states, you're going to have to make the spouse your primary beneficiary, or they're going to have to usually submit notarized paperwork acknowledging that they're not. But, these are things that when, we're coming up on, we're a month away from taxes being due. So you've already got all this information pulled out anyway. Take an extra 10 minutes, make sure the beneficiary designations are up to date. And if you've got questions about how to do this, then find somebody who's a fiduciary who can help you figure this mess out. If there is a mess to be figured out, you already know if you have a former spouse listed as that primary beneficiary and you no longer want them to be the primary beneficiary, go get it changed now. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And I know that you've mentioned before to me that beneficiary designations take precedent and why that's so important. And you hear the horror stories, right? I mean, the story of the guy who got married right out of high school, was only married for a year. It was very not good. It wasn't amicable or even for a few years, and then got remarried, had a whole family, been married for 20 years. Then he passed, and the accounts that he had started, the 401k had built up and up and up, and his retirement accounts had built up, and he never changed the designation, and that went to court because it still had his ex-wife of only a year or two on there. Yes. And she got the money because the court said, nope, it doesn't matter that his will was completely different or his intent was different. The beneficiary designation is legally binding, right?
Right. And just a little sidebar on that. You can put pay on death forms on your bank accounts so that transfers immediately. And
your house, you could put it in a trust, right?
You can, or in some states, you can use something as simple as a beneficiary deed. Laws vary from state to state on that. Okay. So check with an estate planning attorney in your area. Just what made me think of that is my daughter works for a bank. And there was an employee who used his influence to convince a customer to put him on his TOD on all of their accounts.
Wow.
And then passed. So, yeah, they're in the middle of this right now.
That's terrible.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, that's not good.
So, and again, for those of you listening who might have older parents who you're concerned about with those kinds of things, we'll talk about that toward the end of the show and things that you can do to help shore that up. But, nobody's minding the store if you're not minding the store.
Yeah,
you need to take personal responsibility for this and not blame anybody else for it, because ultimately you're the person who can make these changes. Your advisor can't make these changes for you. Can they help you submit the paperwork? Yes, but they cannot make these decisions for you.
Right. Right. And that's huge. So basically people shouldn't be doing any of this without working with a financial professional like yourself, a holistic financial professional who looks at the big picture and helps them plan out the overall plan and works alongside. You have tax professionals you work with and estate planning attorneys to help your clients. So if our listeners want that, they should just pick up the phone and give you a call.
Yes, please. Our telephone number is area code 913-553-6222. And just click the option for appointments and scheduling, and a member of our team, if they don't answer it right then and there, they'll get back to you very shortly thereafter, and we'll get you on the calendar. We work with this kind of stuff on a very frequent basis, and we can help guide you through the process.
Okay. So what else should federal employees especially be wary of when it comes to estate planning? What other estate planning tips do you have for us?
The other thing I would talk about is their group life insurance, FEGLI. Everybody calls it FEGLI. Again,
FEGLI.
You want to make sure the beneficiary designations are current and up to date on those. And when you're going into retirement, you want to make sure that you're only carrying the coverage you want to carry. If you are carrying the additional multipliers very rapidly with the way it multiplies, you will end up eroding away your pension. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things that can really destroy a pension quickly. So, again, working with somebody who understands the federal benefits and who can help you through the process and understand how all of the different options work is going to work to your advantage. That way you're making an informed decision. Most of the time, and I think I've told this story before, most of the time when we have people retiring, they're in a pretty good place financially. And so we're going to recommend the 75% reduction of basic coverage because the premium goes away at age 65. And there is a reduction in that death benefit over a period of time, but you're not paying for it. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a couple come into my office, and the gentleman was mentioning that he was going to have to retire medically. And didn't tell me what he had, but I noticed he was having trouble holding his coffee cup.
Oh, sure.
And I'm like, sir, do you have Lou Gehrig's disease? He's like, yes. And, at that point, we know he has a wife to take care of.
Yeah.
Who had been a housewife. And, we know with something like that, their time is short. So we also know he's not going to qualify for any other life insurance coverage. At that point, we're going to go ahead and bite the bullet and pay that extra premium for the life insurance because we know it's going to be needed in very short order, sadly.
Yeah. That's tough. So federal employees have this life insurance, and it really can affect the way it works can get a little complicated, and you want to make sure you don't make mistakes, right?
Yeah, we could do a show just on, and I think we have in the past. We should go back and look in the archives. I feel like we've talked about it before.
We have on a past show a bit. Yeah.
So, for those of you who have questions about that, go to our website, anchoryourretirement.com. And when you go to the podcast page, there's links to all of our past shows on there. So, and
the topics are listed there. So they are. You can just pick out the show about the topic you want and give it a listen. But we have talked about this in a little more detail on a past show.
We are smart enough not to call it show 1. Show 2.
Yeah, no.
We don't want to make you guess. We know that if you're going there, you're looking.
Some podcasts do that.
We're smarter than that.
Yeah, or they just go by the date, and I'm like, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it behooves you, and it's only to your benefit, no pun intended, that you understand how all of those benefits and things work.
Yeah.
On your behalf.
Yeah. That's very important. So obviously, and then there's survivor benefits that are important to understand.
Yes. When you're retired and you're drawing that pension, if you don't leave a survivor benefit to your spouse, if they're not a federal employee and you're carrying them on your health insurance, without a survivor benefit, they're going to lose their health insurance the same month that they lose you.
Oh,
not a good scene.
No. And so, yeah, if you're married, you need to make sure the way you have it set up, your pension set up, it will be able to take care of your spouse.
Right. And understand that your children, your minor dependent children, if you've retired and you're on a pension, are going to be entitled to a benefit until they're out of college, assuming that they meet certain criteria. This also is the case if you die in federal while you're still working. If you've got at least 10 years of federal service, your surviving spouse and children are going to be entitled to a survivor pension as well, which will let them stay on those health insurance benefits. Very important thing to take into consideration, though, when you're filling out your retirement paperwork.
Yeah. I mean, because those health benefits for federal employees, those are great, especially, I mean, they're fantastic.
They are some of the best health insurance benefits available on the market. So,
well, I mean, just because you get the benefit and the cost, right, of healthcare is so expensive if you don't have that.
Well, and think about how many hundreds of thousands of federal employees there are.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. That's tough. Mm-hmm. So obviously, this is interesting. What's another tip you have for our listeners when it comes to these?
This is another tip that applies to everybody. Okay. And if you don't have these documents now, you need to run, not walk, and get them put in place. And that's durable powers of attorney for both healthcare and for financial affairs. Okay. The healthcare one is going to enable somebody to speak on your behalf when you are in the hospital and in a coma or incoherent, not of clear mind. It's like I tell all of my clients, when you're alive and you can speak for yourself, we're in a great place. When you're dead, the beneficiary designation speaks for you. Again, we're okay. It's if you're caught in that in between.
Yeah.
Because and
that's what the power of attorney is for.
Right. The power of attorney allows somebody to step in that in between. And with the healthcare one, make those decisions on your behalf and determine what level of care you want and what measures they're going to take to save your life. There's also an advanced healthcare directive that works in conjunction with that. But then on the financial power of attorney, it would enable somebody to, like a child, an adult child, to be able to go to the bank and say, hey, I need to keep paying my dad's bills. He's in a coma right now. It's a much safer way of giving somebody access to your bank account in the event that you're incapacitated, rather than just straight up adding them as an owner to the account. When you add them as an owner of the account, they can go in whenever they want and they can take money out, even if they didn't put that money in there. But because they're on the account, they have a legal right to do so. Again, I have a client who recently lost his wife. They hadn't taken this advice and had added a child to their account, and come to find out that when mom passed away, that child went in and pulled out all but $1,000 out of the account. And now the father, in addition to grieving his life partner being gone, now has to deal with working with the bank and filing claims for elder abuse. Not exactly what he planned on doing.
No.
But, that's why you have to be careful about how you give somebody access to an account, and you have to be wise about who you give that access to.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, not to end on a somber note, but it really does make a difference, and it really can have a negative impact if if that person turns out to have not so great ulterior motives in all of this.
Yeah. Yep. And you definitely want to make sure you make wise choices there and sit down and run it by your financial advisor. And I know you have these conversations with your clients. You're more than willing to talk with people about it. So before we go, great tips today, by the way, Barb. Estate planning is so important for all of us. And there's a few extra caveats for federal employees and a few extra things that they need to do. So if somebody has questions about this, once again, let them know how they can get a hold of you and set up a consultation.
They can go to our website, which is anchoryourretirement.com, or you can call us at area code 913-553-6222. Something else that we offer as a complimentary benefit to all of our clients is our generational vault. It's a secure document portal. First of all, it allows us, while we're working with the clients, to exchange information back and forth without it going out over email where it can be compromised. But more importantly, since it has that unlimited storage space, we encourage all of our clients to have those powers of attorney uploaded into the vault so that they can be accessed from anywhere, because you could be on vacation and need these documents.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't pack a power of attorney in my suitcase every time I leave town.
No, I mean, having my wife and I utilize the generational vault, and we love it. I mean, it's such an amazing tool, and I can't believe there's no charge because of it's like a virtual safe deposit box. It has the same encryption protection as the banks use. It's really, really good. It's secure, and you have the password. Your spouse can make sure they know how to access it, and maybe one other person who you trust. And then you keep copies of all your important documents, legal, and your financial accounts are in there as well. And those are live, so I can go in and check the status of my IRA in there or something like that. And the nice
part is when you talk about giving that access to like one other person, you can, when you are setting up their access, you can decide what documents they can see. Yeah. So maybe they can access the legal folder to see the will, the trust, the durable powers of attorney, but they're not going to have access to that financial information unless you grant it to them.
Right.
So, it's like giving somebody a key to a certain room in your house without giving them the key to the whole house.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, Barb, great show today. And again, listeners, if you want to check out the Generational Vault or have questions about federal benefits, estate planning, give Barb a call, set up that consultation. There's no charge or obligation. The initial consultation, 913-553-6222. And again, that number is 913-553-6222. Barb, great show.
Thanks, Tony. It was really good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gulin.
Thank you for listening to Anchor Your Retirement. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound retirement plan. For more information, please contact Barb Gulin at Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group. Call 913-553-6222 or visit them online at anchoryourretirement.com.
Advisory services are offered through Safe Harbor Financial Planning Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Kansas. All matters discussed during the show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration, the Federal Medicare Program, or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.